All right, so with my videos, most of them are made as statements of things that I should be able to go to the police about, but can't. It's not appropriate for me to have to deal with any of the cops in this town, and I do mean that. It is morally and legally wrong. Clearview is in Johnstown, Colorado. I'm going to click over to this because I have it in an open tab. Clearview Behavioral Health, 4770 Larimer Parkway, Johnstown, Colorado. I'm going to read some of the responses here. All right. Well, here's mine up at the top. I gave them 1 star because if you don't give them at least 1 star, then well, they won't let you post it. They have 2.0 stars out of 100 reviews, and that's with people that they pay to put reviews up here, like this Matthew Hudson. He gave them 5 stars. The other side was actually more helpful because there were less patients. Plus, we were more at risk of doing something. I agree the other unit needs a change, but had it not been for Clearview, I'd be dead right now. All right, Matthew, that's good to know. And he sent 66 photos, apparently. Oh, it says 40 reviews, 66 photos. So if this guy doing 5 stars and 40 reviews, and there's still only 2.0 stars. Ooh. All right, here's one. His name is Spy on My Email, and he gave them 1 star. He typed, "Be careful." And then this is response from the owner. "Hey, Spy on, thank you for taking the time to send us feedback. If you'd like to discuss further, please give us a call at." And here's Sam Wilhelm. Typed, "Laura is likely a new employee. The 2019 review likely only found 2 violations because the company knew that state was coming to investigate the facility, and as always, house supervisors let the technicians and staff know what's coming their way. Not to mention the review did not look into a female patient death right before Christmas in 2018, which was a result of one of the night super. So more people died here. Wow. Which was a result of one of the night supervisors' lack of urgency to help out on a unit. I remember hearing a technician calling over the radio for help, but only 1 nurse came to aid them. Sure glad that my family got me the hell out of that place. This place should be shut down. Good for all the other families who've spoken out against this broken establishment which falsely claims to care for their patients." So that's at least 2 deaths, because there was also the death of Ty Birthday. Here's one. Another 1 star. Michoni Beauprez. "Worst experience. No shower, no sheets, no blankets, no physical therapy. Mother-in-law placed here should have not been. Couldn't receive or make calls. Was out of a horror movie. Staff was rude, mean." They're all 1-star reviews. Imagine that. Here's one from Stefan Stuck. "The staff were good people, however, the doctors are not. They kept everyone who was there at that time longer than the mandatory 72 hours, except people who didn't have health insurance. They came up with no good reason to keep me longer, but they did. I was there a total of 5 days. Now I'm stuck with a $2,000 bill." Paulette Young. "Given conflicting information from the time we checked in until the time we noped out of there and left. Waited 3 hours for help, assessment, and resources, then had a really bad gut feeling about the place. Would not recommend." Karen K. Yeah, these are all one-star reviews. All of these are one-star reviews of Clearview Behavioral Health. Karen K. This facility needs to be shut down. And this is from 8 months ago, by the way. They treat you as a prisoner, and the building looks like a jail. The medical assistants are very unprofessional and even flirt with the younger patients. The minute you request to leave, they commit you to a 72-hour hold to keep you there and collect the insurance money. Never even saw a real doctor. Neither did I. The longest I ever got to speak with Dr. Jason West was there was almost 2 minutes almost a minute and a half that I spoke with him the day that I left. Leo Watermiller, 10 months ago, another one-star review. They will keep you here for 10 days and not even provide basic necessities like underwear. It was completely inhumane and completely disgusting. He's right. They didn't provide individual therapy, and you don't learn anything from coming here. It's just a matter of counting down the days until you finally get out. Another one-star review. Miller B., 10 months ago. Horrible nightmare. Even if the state allows it to be open, they have gone too far and will continue to use and abuse. They have zero intention of doing better by patients and only aim to figure out how to fool officials. Shut it down forever and don't allow the company or its employees to go near patients ever again. Very next one, another one-star review from a year ago. Cody C says this place was hell. The therapist didn't try to help, only a few techs cared. Staff would yell and talk back to patients, and it would trigger people severely. I was there for 9 days, and they didn't give me my clothes until about around day 4 to 5. I had asked and asked, and they never did anything about it. They didn't end up letting me have my clothes until I made it apparent that I wouldn't leave them alone until they gave them to me. When I arrived, they never gave me a wristband, and they never ended up doing it. If I could give this place a lower review than one, I would. Denise Hill, another one-star from 5 months ago. This is not a place to get any kind of help. I was abused by staff and forced to sign legal documents I didn't want to. Told I couldn't leave after my hold was up and cleared by the doctor. Now I'm being asked to pay a huge bill for their services. This place should be closed permanently. Emily Roberts, another one-star review. I was sent to Clearview for a voluntary 72-hour hold related to suicidal ideation. The facility's ability to meet my needs was appalling. I have autism. This is another person with autism. You see, I have autism and need a text to speech communication device to supplement my communication. Rightly so. They withheld it from me for 2 days, citing the need for a doctor's confirmation. They put no effort into getting that confirmation until I became adversarial and made it clear that I was not leaving them alone until they gave me my legal right to appropriate communication. The facility also tried to take me off the SSRI that my GP described for me and that I have been taking for over 4 years. They took away my medication with inappropriate tapering over the course of only 2 days and forced me to take a new medication that I had never tried without asking me what I wanted and without speaking to my GP. They threatened that if I didn't take it, I would be kept inside longer due to medication refusal. I was supposed to be there for only 72 hours, but was bullied and threatened into remaining for 5 days. After my 72 hours was up, they asked me to sign a voluntary admission form allowing them to keep me longer. They said if I didn't sign it, they would put me on an involuntary hold for another 72 hours. They essentially coerced me into allowing them to keep me confined against my will without any legal or medical cause. Wherever you go for mental health services, make sure it is not Clearview Behavioral Health. They're a for-profit hospital that are interested in nothing but your money, and the care I received there makes that obvious. Here's one with 2 stars. That's better, I guess. My wife was hospitalized there in order to stabilize her medications. They did that okay. for her stay there was like being in jail. I got fed up when I went to visit her, and the information given was wrong about visiting hours. I ended up waiting around for 2 hours to see her. Then, while I was sitting in the waiting room, got scolded for having a cell phone. When they moved her, she had to walk some distance to the dining area, and that was difficult for her as she had just had a knee replacement. She wasn't allowed to shower and change into clean clothes during her stay. I will never use this place again if I can help it. This man's name was Thomas Kine. Liliana Wide, Weide, another 1 star. This is from a year ago. There are some good staff there, but most of them are extremely rude and they instigate the patients. They do not help. I felt worse when I left than when I came. Ari, um, review 11 months ago. If I could give less than 1 star, I would. Absolute disgusting treatment of patients. This place has been investigated by the state, the federal government, Medicaid and Medicare, and private insurance companies. They need to be closed down. Little Persian cat, 1 star, 10 months ago. Oh my God, don't ever send anyone here for treatment. Horrible hospital. Tracy Perry, 1 star, a year ago. Horrible place to work. Scandal after scandal. Hey, they do not care about the patients or staff safety, just money and numbers. State came in and almost closed the place down for its filth and violations. Management is the worst. They will lie and tell you anything. The turnover there is absolutely horrible. I started with 36 in 1 year. I was the only one left. Don't waste your time working for this company. It will be a waste of your time. Find a career elsewhere if you are a professional and value yourself as an employee. I wouldn't even rate this place 1 star. That's Tracy Perry, someone who worked there. FRC, 5 months ago, 1 star. These guys are dishonest and defrauding the patients, insurance companies, and the government. Andrew Smith, a year ago. I cannot even rate this place, maybe a negative 100. This mental facility is a scam that extends the stay of its patients, strip off patients and insurance providers with no justification. Staff never contacts you or informs you why an extended hold is required. Finance never calls you back. They force your family member to sign their rights away, and if you don't, you face legal and insurance being dropped based on hearsay. This quackery mental health stated my son will be there for 5 to 10 days for no reason. As for the facility, I have seen jail cells with better facilities. This company should be shut down as they are abuse the system and patients. Lawsuits should be filed by everyone who has had a family member sent to this so-called hospital. Katie Spaulding, 1 star. They deserve a firm negative 1,000. I trusted them with my child and they miserably failed due to lack of supervision. When my son arrived there, he had no injuries due to self harm. I went to visit on Thursday and he had very clearly self harmed and no one knew. I packed short sleeves and shorts so they would notice anything if he did. It was on the front side of his forearm, and I noticed it immediately. There was no way, if anyone had been paying attention, it could have gone unnoticed. My husband and I decided the best option was to contact the police. Sad being this place was supposed to protect our child. Now, had they noticed and notified me, I would not have been upset. Also, during visitation, the tech supervising had his face in his phone the entire hour while a group of kids with no visitors sat on the opposite side of the gym, and this tech was not paying attention. The other youth were talking about how they could get high on the unit and so on. We moved our child to a different facility. Don't trust this place with any member of your family. They don't care, with the exception of the daytime nurse. However, nurses are caught up with paperwork and meds and rely on techs tremendously, and they have failed. The techs fucking suck. Oh my God. They failed our family, and now we have to correct the damage they caused alongside of the issues we were already. Lisa Harris, 1 star. a year ago. I was hired as an RN, and then, for no apparent reason, their HR person would not return emails or phone calls. The front receptionist did not even know the director of nursing's name. Extremely disorganized, extremely unprofessional, and I can only imagine what the units run like. Good luck if you dare working here. Nick W., 1 star a year ago. It's not right. Anyone in the mental health industry can legally diagnose somebody with a mental disorder without physical evidence or brain scans. I can have the healthiest brain in the world and act crazy because of a bad environment. As a human on planet Earth, I have the right to do that. I have had a nurse at Clearview threaten to shoot me over and over again, wanting me to take some sort of a shot using something she doesn't even tell me, or take a pill. So I read my patient's Bill of Rights. However, she said it was court ordered, when that is not true, because I even asked if I could read it out loud so the other patients and staff, and more importantly myself, could have this physical evidence to keep. I will email my story to everyone in the industry and people with power until these demons are sterilized. Sammy Meow, 1 star a year ago. Staff was hit or miss. The whole place was run like an adult daycare, very disorganized, and there was no one on one therapy. It was all group therapy, which was run by people who were sometimes only 19 years old. They were very nice, but had no background in therapy. We absolutely not would absolutely not recommend this place. I suggest Mountain Crest if you're looking for a safe, beneficial place to go. Stephanie Castro, 1 star. I would just like to acknowledge an employee by the name of Carlos Moreno. As far as I know, has invested a lot of his time and commitment into this company, as well as for the patients, whom he has always put as his first priority. He never complains about the job, task, and he is always ready to help others on his team. He is very interactive and empathetic towards patients. That makes it easy for others to be drawn to his knowledge, that in which helps him to perform his job accordingly. The ability and the experience to de-escalate situations that no one else can do. It actually shows how much confidence his team has in him. He has shown major growth in the psychology field, and I have no reason to doubt he will not continue to do so. Personally, I am not very fond of the facility itself, but to know that a person like him works there makes a tremendous difference and can give others confidence, know the type of care they will receive. Thank you, Carlos, for all the time and sweat you put into this company. I am sure you had to sacrifice even your own time with family to be as great as you are at this job. Clearview will be making a big mistake to ever lose someone like you. You rock. Now, Stephanie only gave it a 1 star. The facility only got 1 star. She did have a lot nice to say about Carlos, though, which is good. Julian Grace, 1 star. My son went there after a skateboard crash led to a concussion and other reactions. We have excellent insurance that covered 100%. They held him longer than the hold by doctors who said nothing more than, "Hi, how's your day?" They were seeking a 3-month hold, telling me all is paid for, so you should not worry. We had to refuse insurance submission and put on self-pay for a sliding scale for son with no income. And then they decided he was fine and discharged him the day before court, where they, a day previous, were seeking an extended 3-month hold. Amanda Blosser, 1 star. This place was hell. There is no God there. There is no God here. I can't wait for the divine intelligence to intervene. Your time is up, Clearview. Dr. Peter West is no doctor of osteopath. It's actually not Dr. Peter West. It's Jason West, although he told me that his name was David West, and apparently he told Amanda Blosser that his name was Peter West. Rabaud Waltney, 1 star a year ago. Worst place to go. Just don't get a good friend. William Powell, 1 star a year ago. I am a retired U.S. investigator. My wife was admitted to Clearview for treatment first. The physically Physical facility was nice. Staff were very helpful to me. I give the lack of communication between themselves was little to none. The place is run by inexperienced, some people who can care less about each other, let alone the patients. Just a lot of young people with a job to gain experience to leave. The living conditions for patients was worse than a prison of convicted killers. Horrible is the only way to explain or describe the conditions. If you have any other options for anyone you care for, I recommend you take them elsewhere. This shows a lack of caring and very little progress since the 1930s. The food is better. Uh, Popeye's chicken. The food is better. Popeye's chicken. The managers of that Clearview Behavioral Health Facility should be trained or fired. The owners of the facility are simply taking money and not providing the services that are being paid for. The facility is a disgrace to the community and the profession of mental health care. I plan to write a personal experience review every month until I personally receive non-standard feedback response. This is my first written review. Anton Sagaran, 1 star a year ago. This place only cares about money. That's the top priority, not patient or staff safety. Don't go here and get your loved ones out now. Crystal, 1 star 2 years ago. They hire counselors who were just licensed in January of 2018, who then in April of 2018 say they are really good at their job and then lie. Not sure if it is out of incompetence or if they think they know something, so it's okay to lie to get a result that a counselor feels they want. Tons of conflicting information, tons. No one in this place knows what they're doing, and it is to the detriment of the patient, children. This place is totally independent and not affiliated with anyone. No one knows anything about them. They hire inexperienced staff, one of which is highly unethical. Patient beware. Parents, please don't let them get a hold of your child. Renee McCauley, 1 star a year ago. Insurance fraud. The facility will make up reasons to keep patients longer than necessary if the patient has insurance. It's so disheartening to see beautiful human beings being treated with such a lack of dignity and compassion. 50 years from now, I hope society looks back at operations like these with horror. Do not admit yourself or a loved one to this facility. Jay Benson, 1 star 2 years ago. Horrible place for people wanting help. Staff lost my belongings, didn't give important phone messages, didn't introduce themselves when speaking to you. Filthy, filthy place. The trays food is served on are filthy, and the glass separating the food from the food line was so filthy they couldn't even see what food you can choose from. Nicole at the front desk must hate her job. She told a client coming in for outpatient therapy that she was going to blow her gasket. She is somewhat rude. Lindsay, a therapist, was the only one who was kind and helpful. She was the one who fought to get my husband out of the acute unit he was put in incorrectly into a unit more suited to his needs. She is also the one who fought to get him released. I do not recommend this place for mental health help. Now, if you want to find a date, this may be the place for you. Nothing but dating game and who steal the most snacks, no real help, total chaos. The tech allow the clients to scream, yell, act like children, and talk and overtalk people on groups trying to share their issues. This is somebody who really wanted to get their stuff out and couldn't handle the group issue. That's the thing. Most of these people, there is no one-on-one care there. There's no one-on-one. You're babysat long enough to prevent you from being able to, in most of these cases, file charges against them or against the police. Brittany Baker, 1 star 2 years ago. Absolutely horrible. Max Meyer is a joke of a therapist. If you love your kids, do not send them here. What a mess and unprofessional mess of medical care. My child was brutally beaten in this hellhole, and staff never called to charge the person responsible. This joke of a helpful environment can't follow basic regulations. I never signed one document while my loved one was in their care. If you can refuse to allow your child to be sent here. Allison Bonnick, understaffed, unhappy workers, to put it shortly, it actually feels like prison, and I've never felt so useless in my life. Judith Zalea, they do not allow patients to communicate with friends and family. I believe this facility is in need of funds and keeps people unnecessarily sedated such that they can keep them longer than they need to stay. It's all about the money. Stephanie M., 1 star a year ago. Um, let's see, it says edit of the earlier review. It says, since posting the below review, I have to say I'm very disappointed in Clearview. My son was in their intensive outpatient therapy and was benefiting from the therapy until they pulled the plug without telling me. No transition plan, no goodbye, not even a call. I dropped him off for therapy and they told him they'd axed the program a few days earlier without telling the patients. That's just irresponsible. Did they call to check in on him or follow up? Nope, didn't. Don't leave your kids in their hands. And here's the original review. So the care is good, I think. It's hard to tell because nobody knows anything. Communication here is even worse than the previous reviews state. We couldn't check on our child for the first day because we weren't on the list. The doctor called my daughter first to discuss his care because somehow they just got her on the list. It only got worse from there. They almost charged him without a family meeting, safety plan, or even telling me. When I mentioned communication as a challenge, the clinical supervisor said, we hear that a lot. At least they are aware of that. The response to the reviews here ask you to call the patient advocate. Her voicemail box is full. I already know. Well, I'm sure everybody knows that. My child feels that the care is inadequate. He feels heard and respected except by Carlos, who addressed him as inmate. There were more than one person at Clearview that called people inmate. I was called inmate by several of the staff members. Um, when you get brought in by cops, right? They already have that set bias. Type, these kids aren't inmates, they're kids in crisis whose parents are paying thousands of dollars for care. Please show some respect and call them by name and identify them as patients. Being called an inmate really made my kid feel humiliated. The nurses are great. If you want information, try to get in touch with the nurse on the unit. They know who the patients are and will go out of their way to help you. Well, I can disagree with that, but they might have had different nurses than me. Um, let's see. The front desk staff is very pleasant. The intake person was also very nice. I give the 1 star because communication is so lacking and that it's a very frustrating experience. Pat Smith, not a patient myself, but my wife was, could never get any communication regarding her care, never a diagnosis. They would not allow her to leave or be picked up and taken out. They would not return phone calls to myself or her immediate family, almost like they keep people there against their will with no communication regarding their care as hostages. I would not recommend Clearview to anyone and caution everyone. Legacy Stables, horrible place. I would not, 1 star review 3 years ago, horrible place. I would not want my loved one here for any reason. Not real therapy. Understaffed, poor physical environment. Most regulations violated. Staff is very unhappy and often just don't show up to work, even the therapist. Reception area is often unmanned, even when releases are signed, no information is given to family members. I personally witnessed the smuggling of items by visitors, no clear objectives to group therapy, inability of staff to articulate goals, even the patients schedule of activities is not maintained. Areas are so cold that most people wear lots of clothes. No consistency for patients. Jill Anderson, 1 star a year ago. This facility is staffed by kind nurses and indifferent doctors. Intake took over 4 hours, 2 of which I was left completely alone in a locked room. Either the facility was understaffed or didn't care, but either way, it was detrimental to my health care. My assigned doctor chose not to see me in person until I had been in the facility for 2.5 days, which is illegal. Administration tried to pass off a nurse practitioner as my doctor, which, see, I told you guys this shit was going on, which she was not. My doctor saw me in person for a grand total of 30 minutes. That's more time than I got over the entire 5 days I was in the facility. One meeting took place in the common area, standing at the nurses' station. It lasted for 3.5 minutes. Very informal and careless approach to critical mental health, and violated a patient's right to privacy with their doctor. My doctor refused to discharge me after my mandatory hold was finished, citing, "We don't discharge on weekends. This is untrue and not a policy of the facility." The following day, Saturday, a different patient was discharged. Clearly, the doctor was not concerned with my wishes, but only concerned with putting off paperwork until Monday morning. This caused me to miss work, which I explained to the staff when I asked to be discharged on Friday. Administration placed a violent and angry person in my nonviolent unit due to the social politics in that patient's original unit. This was detrimental to my care and the care of many of the other patients. Discharge, when it finally happened, took 3 hours waiting around in bureaucracy, unbelievably slow and frustrating. The nursing staff was caring, personable, and kind. They and the food were the only good things about my stay at Clearview. Never before have I felt so belittled and uncared for by mental health professionals. There is a reason the nursing staff is always turning over. The good ones realize they can do no good here, and the bad ones get fired. Whatever you do, do not send yourself or your loved ones to Clearview Behavioral Health. Administration and staff care not for your mental health. Bridget Vendel, do not send your loved ones here. 1 star 2 years ago. Do not send your loved ones here if you wish to really get them help. No one there knows what's going on, and when defending themselves, every single one of them gave the same answer: "I'm new here." The doctor never once called me back. They kept my loved one 18 hours past the 72-hour hold without explanation or reason. They refused to give my loved one their medical records, even though they're required to if asked by law. They drugged my loved one up with the wrong medication and administered the proper medication wrong. The medication was supposed to be taken sublingually, and they had him swallow it so it didn't take the proper effect. During the family meeting, the therapist talked more about himself and his wife than he did about the situation at hand. I've been dealing with that a lot. They did a lot of shady stuff to try and cover their own tails. I highly recommend doing your research before admitting a loved one to this facility. It was quite a disturbing experience, to say the least. It did way more harm than good. Emily Shane, 1 star 2 years ago. So these other comments are right on. This place looks nice, and that's all. Wouldn't waste a minute more here. My boyfriend tried to get help, and they turn you away because you have the sense enough to want help. Don't bother, they don't care. Truth Seeker, 1 star a year ago. Horrible care. If you have a loved one there, get them out ASAP. Christine, 1 star. Called numerous times and left messages asking them to call me back because I was trying to get an outpatient program. I was struggling badly and needed more therapy than my normal once-a-week session with someone unrelated to this program. It's a few months later, and I've never once heard back from anyone. Shows how much they care about helping, right? I got into a treatment program at Mountain Crest after giving up on Clearview. I 100% recommend you start there instead of wasting your time trying to get help here. Peter Helsade, 1 star 3 years ago. A family member was here for a few days to deal with a serious mental illness. I was very hopeful at first, in part because of the highly touted program and promise of follow-up and involvement of family, which is key for situations like this. My family member did not allow me access to his medical records. His therapist called me and collected as much information as I could give. So far, so good. Because of HIPAA rules, his therapist could not disclose his diagnosis, treatment plan, or medication, but did offer to set up a family meeting and asked me to keep him appraised of my perspective of his treatment if his condition improved. His condition did not improve in over a week of treatment, and I left several messages with that indication with his care team. No, not one call was returned. When we came again to visit yesterday, we discovered he had been discharged without medication, proper care, or follow-up notification and is currently missing. Of course, we were not notified, and so a long trip and several hours were wasted driving. His therapist still has not returned any of my phone calls from the time he was being treated until today, a day after he has been released. 2 phone calls to the clinic director in the past 24 hours have not been returned or acknowledged. I'm appalled at the level of health care for mentally ill in northern Colorado. I'm sorry, but this is actually nationwide, people. The homeless problem is directly related to the wasted efforts of highly trained and well-qualified individuals, who in my opinion are slaves to policies that are dollar-driven and not health-driven. As a result of his mistreatment at Clearview Behavioral Health, the lack of family involvement, and the lack of proper treatment plan, my family member is again homeless and missing. I would not recommend this facility to anyone that is expecting proper care for a mentally ill family member or friend. I will update this review if I am contacted by the staff at Clearview. Responding to a post in a public forum is not necessary if you cannot professionally and adequately respond to a patient in need in a private one. TLDR, do not recommend due to lack of communication and lack of adequate treatment. All right, this person gave them 2 stars. Very nice. And it's pretty long. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Tybra Hatay was killed by this hospital on July 15th, 2017. I'm going to take a picture of that because this was actually made from Tybor's account. It was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are a lot more 1-star reviews. A lot of them. I mean, that's just Clearview. That's just Clearview. They got to punish me for trying to turn them in. They got to assault me and charged me as a criminal to cover their wrongdoing. Wrongdoing that obviously they had done to great many others. Same thing with Waylon Mowatai. I tell you about my predators, and you do nothing.